Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to SKTV. Today is Monday, June 20th, 2022. Welcome to today's edition. And thank you. We want to welcome each and every one of you to the show. Welcome to the show. Um, invite someone. Let's welcome each and every one to the show. We want to welcome our viewers, our audiences from around the world. Welcome and welcome. Today is June 20th, 2022. Invite someone. Those of you watching from Liberia, we want to say welcome to the show. Welcome to today's edition. Those of you watching from Europe, Asia, the Americas, we say welcome and welcome. Welcome to each and every one of you. Let's share the show. Let's invite someone. Today we are having another thought-provoking conversation, stimulating. We are bringing this conversation to you from Phoenix, Arizona. We will be joined here very shortly by Mr. Ansoni Sie. By at some point also Seku. Welcome. I see my buddy Shannon. Shannon, what's up? We'll catch up. I'll call you. We got to catch up. You got to fill me in. I got to fill you in as well. Welcome to the show. Either ways, we say thanks to all of you. Help us to share the show. Invite someone. Today is purely politics. We were Shannon, you already know. Welcome to the show. I know that you're here, but welcome at least listen small. I know you don't let it pass. I didn't buy you that let, but we inside. Well, welcome to the show, guys. I want to welcome each and every one of you. It's good to have my friend Shannon here watching us. She doesn't like politics, to be quite honest. She does not. I'll tell you that. That's one of the secrets. Now that she popped me up on the spot, let's see if she will stay long here. But welcome to the show, guys. Let's share the show. We have a lot to talk about today. As you can see the headline, we are gearing towards the 2023 elections. Can a CDC-led government or party win the 2023 presidential elections? We are going to be discussing the CDC. We're going to discuss the speech of Mr. Cummings today. We're going to discuss also if the opposition is ready for conversation. My man, leave me, man. TK, the way you been, I said. My man, TK, the way you been. My man. Anyways, after the show, we'll talk. We need to talk. After the show, we'll talk. T. Curtis has been away for a while. I don't know he traveled. You're in Europe, you're in, or Asia, because I don't see you in America these few days. But welcome to the show. T. Curtis, been a minute. Shannon, I know that you're here there. My man Smith, that will leave me, man. That distraction you won't come with. My man, Smith, that will leave people, man. Leave me, man. Leave me without. Yeah, I think plenty. I don't cover ANC, man. I don't cover LP, man. I don't cover the other, man. Any cover you want to put me on, you put me, I'll take it. I don't get a problem with it. But on some real, today we have a lot to talk about. To be quite honest, we got to talk about the chances of the CDC. We also have to talk about the opposition as well to keep the conversation balanced and in context. So we'll talk about this group of people. Like I said, my friend Shannon does not like politics, but some way, somehow I got her attention today on the political show. She's fighting for distance. She doesn't like him. My man, you say you're looking for money? The plenty of money you get, my man. You know what I mean? The problem I get with you, all the suits you brought from Liberia, You decided that you won't be wearing no fan suit, and for you to even say, "Oh, let me bring one for my boy," you don't do it. You just let the boy hanging. You just be wearing all the fan suit in the summer. When I see your picture, the next picture I will see in fan suit on Facebook, I'm reporting you to Facebook. I'm reporting you for your page to be black for coming in the country with fan suits and you didn't hook your ball up. I get problem with that. But anyways, let's share the show, guys. Today, like I said, today the promises to be very interesting. At some point, Sekou could join us. I know Sekou is traveling back from Dallas, Texas. He was in Texas this weekend. Can you imagine? Sekou was in Texas, but he was somehow constrained yesterday to do the show all by himself because me and TV chilling for him. I thought his service would have, been shorter yesterday, but it wasn't. It was longer than expected. So that is the reason why I couldn't show up on the show. After the service was very late, so show up very late. But sorry, guys. But today we are here to make up. I know Sekou either traveled last night and he's tired. So if you don't see him today, that might be the reason. But we'll have this conversation. Ansoni C will be joining us any moment from now. Look at my owner brother Momo. My owner brother Momo. See you live. See you live. See you live. See you live. You're not going nowhere. You're not going nowhere. You will stay here, Momo. You're not going nowhere. You wanted to make I come and report your page to Facebook. This time I will be reporting your pages where you give me a time. You and D Curtis, you're on my reporting for this week. I'll report your pages this week. You and D Curtis. D Curtis Umpa for bringing fan African suit in the country and not sharing with me. And me, he can wear the same size. I taller than him and I got body more than him. I told him not picking. I picking no. And he tries to I'm taller than him. I will trap our picture me. I will drop our photos me in the photos we get. I will just drop it as evidence. I will not say nothing. I will just drop our photo and then call him there. D Curtis that my picking. I told him my picking. But my picking gets some fan suit, my man. I fan suit again, my man. It's December. I look at me, you go in December, bro. You gotta show me where you get those students from. I beg you, those students are easy. My man, those students are easy. Let me say it. So those of you who still wondering about the birthday gift, I taking suits, yeah? Yeah. I taking suits. And the good thing about me, I can receive birthday gift from now to the end of January 2023. That's how it works. In my head, in my mind, that's how it works. So just so you know, D Curtis are big, those students. Forget it. I will carry it to the tailor, will put small thing in there, make it longer, small. It will fit me. Forget it. Just make it happen. Momo, don't go nowhere. I beg you. Don't go nowhere. I know you worry right now about the Lofa election or the by-election in Lofa. You worry like nothing. Fasting and pray. I see you praying a few times. I can see you. But anyways, guys, we get to other news. We get to other news here really quick. But on some serious note, today we're having some serious discussion about the chances of the CDC. We'll talk about Mr. Cummings' speech. We do have the transcript here. Some of you listen to the audio. We might not play the audio, but we do have the transcript. We just touch through it, provide the opportunity also for you to, whether it's contribute or do whatever you want to do. We'll provide an opportunity to you at some point. Open the phone lines here. But let's share the show. Let's invite others. Just before we get on with this conversation with Ansoni C, who will be joining us here momentarily. Let's share the show. Sorry, guys, I'm still having this allergy. And it's been bothering me for the past weeks or days, But let's share the show. Let's invite other people. We have a lot to talk about. A lot to talk about. The CDC chances. I know as of recent, the CDC had the 17th celebration of the CDC party, 17th, at the headquarters. Any of you followed on Facebook. Just a quick message to my friends brothers and sisters, mothers and fathers in the CDC or who support the CDC or the president, please stop saying you're a born seditious. Please stop saying that. It sounds out of place. It doesn't make any sense. You can be older something. You can be older than something and say you're born that thing. It's like your child telling you say they born you. See, it doesn't make any sense, right? It does not make any sense. You can't operate in the reverse. That will be the reverse of things. So you don't want to do that. You don't want to do that. Please. It's okay for you to support your party. It is your right. It's okay for you to support the president. It is your right. But it is not okay for you to say you're a born seditious when you are over 17. Yeah. You can't be 54 and say you're a born seditious. Doesn't make any sense. Logically, does not add up. It's either you have a problem or you're probably ignorant of the truth. And if you're ignorant of the truth, then this is an opportunity for you to learn, to understand that you cannot say that. It makes you look funny. It makes people start thinking about you, what's going on in your head. But that's one of the recommendations to my friends and my brothers in the CDC or who support the CDC. You are not a born seditious because you just celebrated 17th anniversary of your party. So you cannot claim to be born seditious. So again, let's share the show here while we await to get to the musical break really quick, and we'll get straight into the show. Amos Jala, you make a good point. You should have gone to SKD and let us show number and there's a strength in number, quote unquote. They should have gone. Let me tell you something. In La Bro can say, our nose heavy low. They saw heavy low. They know. They know the masses are tired with that. The masses, anything the masses can get tired, the masses tired. Let me tell you now, the masses is tired. The masses sick and tired of it. The men are enjoying. Okay, Benjamin. Okay, Benjamin Jonah is a figurative expression. Okay. So let them claim that they're Benjamin. That's fine. That's your right. But I would advise my brothers and my sister, please don't pass it around and use figurative expression that will make people start asking questions about you if something is okay with you. Yeah? Don't mind Benjamin. Benjamin just want for you to continue to make fool of yourselves. Please don't do that. Stop saying you're a born seditious. If you're 54, you're 30, even if you're 17, you're not a born seditious. You would probably just be celebrating your first birthday. See? So it doesn't make any sense. But that's a side point. That is a side point for the conversation today. Like I said, we do have serious conversation to have today. Would like you to share the show just before we get to the break. Would like you to share the show. Sonny C will be joining me here, and we'll have this conversation. This conversation ain't easy. In other news, many of you have seen Representative Akaras Gray. Normally, I don't talk about people's personal business. I will never discuss people's personal life. I wish Akaras Gray, Representative Akaras Gray, I congratulated him. However, I think that move was not strategic. It was not timely. It was not. I don't know who told him to do that. It was not. But that will haunt you. The time has not come yet. That move will haunt you. That particular move will haunt you. Even seditions will make you pay for what you did. They will. They will make you pay for what you did. Forget about all that temple writing you were doing yesterday. They will make you pay. They will. We are aware of some of the conversations that are going behind closed doors. So these guys are pissed off with you. They're not happy. They're not satisfied with what you did. Fast forward. Many of you have seen the president dancing to the music. First of all, let me just say this to all of you. It's okay for people to make excuses and say, oh, the president and human being too. The president and human being too. And the president can enjoy himself. The president and human being too. True. With the given circumstances, should the president be throwing Boga challenge? It speaks volume to the president we have. It speaks volume to the mindset. You see, some of these things are done. People think it's just for joking or so forth, but it's problematic. It sends a bigger message, it sends a don't care message. But let me also tell you also what's behind that. There's a pattern of the president or the CDC-led government creating a distraction when there are serious national issues. If you will notice, there is a pattern. And many of you, maybe you are not paying attention, but there is a pattern. It's consistent. The president does it deliberately with a don't care attitude and they move on. I give you a typical example. When the COVID was raging, where people were protecting the borders, people died, the president was making music. Yep. The president was making music. So this is to tell you that this is a pattern. I've always told people, before social media existed, President George Weah was in front of the television, in camera, or in newspaper. President George Weah understands the media. Let me tell you today, don't overlook President George Weah. He understands the media. He understands this landscape. He understands communication. When and if he chooses not to speak about certain things, it is deliberate. He knows what he's doing. President George Weah started talking to the media before some of you even came in front of camera. You know what it means to be war best? You have no clue. Many of us think, oh, the man just doing that, the president, and the man I know what he's doing. President George Weah knows exactly what he is doing. Trust that. Even some of the seditionists, Natana McGill and other people do not know what he's doing, but he understands exactly what he's doing. He understands the media. He does. Go think about it. He understands the media. He's been in the media long before. He has a history, he has a pattern, and there is a trend. He knows how to distract from the issues. He knows. He knows how to distract from the issues. Most recently, the road fund issues that's going on. Most recently, the budget that's going on. Now the next talk, because most Liberians, we have short attention span. We don't focus on issues that matter. We don't spend enough time on it. We're looking for the biggest news. Almost everyone is running now with the president is doing Bukat things or whatever it is. You look for the next sensational thing to distract from. I still don't get it. I still don't get it. I'm still trying to process some of these things. Let me tell you something. If there's anything President George Weah understands, it's the media and entertainment or socialization. Some of you that Nana is started chilling. Yeah. Why the war going on, President Weah? Long before chilling. Be that thing. President Weah are people. Let me put it that way. That one, I get the president are people you understand chilling. I tell you, what are our own flipping level, judicial level, positioning people level, hanging out with BM and other people then level, the president connect in other area, very social. And I understand the landscape, I understand the game. What thing? So the thing when you're doing your thing, President George, we are know what he's doing. Your reality he doesn't know. So do that thing, man. President understand forcing. President been forcing long time. And that we used to say in the 90s, forcing. The president understand forcing. Just before we go to the musical break here, in the next 2 minutes, we're still in other news. In other news, as many of you are following, it's getting very critical in the United States where they're trying to hold President Donald Trump and some of his allies in the past government accountable for their role in the January 6th, quote unquote coup, or whatever now you want to term it as, that almost happened And so this debate is very heated. The ongoing evidences are piling up, and it's seeming to be problematic. It's seeming to be problematic for President Donald Trump. I listened to him and I read some of his transcripts, I think from over the weekend. He was giving speeches or whatever it is, debunking and using the same thing, hoax and fake media, fake news. What the January 6th incident was not fake. Let's be quite honest. I'd hope and pray that at some point in our times, in our lives, we would live to see such level of accountability. I'd really hope to see so. And we're praying and fighting for that. Those of you that are fighting sincerely, let's continue. Those of you that are fighting because you want your political leader to come there so they can give you a job, or your political party to take power because you used to be on some kind of salary, and once they take power, you'll get back. Stop it and get serious. Let's hold people accountable. Let's hold people accountable. In other news also, the Senate now fall down inside. You remember the maritime nominee, which we touch on really quick? Well, the school in Kenya came back and said, yes, this lady is enrolled. So the question that's mind-boggling now is, will the Senate reconsider what they've done in this case, where this lady was scrutinized, her nomination was rejected, and so forth and so on? Would that be the case? We want to see that. Another case also we are following very closely is the debate of the dual citizenship, wherein the Senate kept a tight lip on when it passed that bill. Since May 20th, today makes May 19th, today makes it 1 month, 1 day, until a few days ago when we started to probe and started to push some buttons before we could get the actual bill. They actually kept it. They wanted to keep it from the public. So in that bill, like we said on Saturday, we speak with Leo here, reconnect with him, so that we can have him back to discuss that bill in total. We'll tell you exactly what's in the bill and how it's discriminatory. We'll compare other countries. We'll compare other models that have been used. And what is the problem that we're heading down for as a people? This is not a political conversation, but we'll get to it. We want to get straight to the musical break because Mr. Sia is here. Right after that, we'll be getting into the conversation. We will play a very, very quick song while you help us share the show. Thank you. Like I said, Mr. Kane, I wasn't able to connect with him. I'm not sure if he's back now. I'm 100%, maybe 90% sure that he's back. Maybe he's just resting, and he'll be back very soon. Since we're talking about the presidential election, we're going to share the show. Let's get quickly to who wants to be president. Everybody wants to be president in our country. Let me find out some. I want you to take a key look at the pictures that will come on the screen really quick, and you will see familiar faces.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Sonada dear boy. I'm glad with the great opportunity given me to introduce to you your president.
Babu want to become president.
That one not true.
Mosquito want to become president.
That one not true.
Poppy Dossel want to become president.
That one not true.
Crazy man you see want become president.
That one not true.
Mr. Krede want to become president.
That one not true.
Mr. Lala man want become president.
That one not true.
President you will sing you.
That one not true.
Mr. Roro want to become president.
That one not true.
Diego. Now how the president business will be? We suffering for some more. Mr. Lala want to become president. President you see want become president. Mr. Become president. It can't be one angry. Let me tell you something. When they want become president with Lala, Liberia will support you. When they be president to them, they will stand and say, I'm Mason. I will bring down Moldova and build you new Moldova. I'm going to make sure I'm not going to see the government money. I'm going to make sure 7-7 get their back pay. I'm the president going to make sure that the AFL going to be paid in 2 weeks. I'm going to make sure the students going to get 12 buses. I'm going to make sure for the little children they say, I'm going to buy two plastic bags for them to poo inside. Yeah. Babu, you see, want to become president? Mr. President want to become president. Mr. Drongo want to become president. Lala want to become president. Karen Ripper want to become president. You know, issue so free, Liberia. Listen to the speech. As a president of the Republic of Liberia, I'm going to make sure I'm going to electrify the city into 1 day time. As a president of the Republic, I'm going to dry the whole of the sea and pay you people estate billing. As things go bad, Republic of West Wind going to be an estate. Mr. President, become president. Mr. Lala man want to become president. Mr. Ruru want to become president. Mr. Dr. Job want to become president. Mr. Kenju man want to become president. Mr. Ripasa want to become president. Mosquito want to become president. The girl you see want to become president. Everyone want to become president. And you want and you now when you want to become president. Yeah. Please come, let we see them will become president.
Rutini, don't cry by here. The president said, "Been in a worry, my ear." Me, I got one question to how will be president. But wait now, how can you become president? Nobody know you. How do you become president? How will you become president? Hey, people man now want to become president. All the self jargon they want to become president. You gapping here, then you want to become president.
Well, I didn't know cell phone jaggers wanted to become president, but that's a good thing. But as you watch or listen to that music or that song, you saw a couple of familiar faces. It includes President George Weah, former President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Joseph Yuman Poikai, and other people. The only person that I probably did not pick up on that lineup was Joy Howard Taylor. However, she was still close to the presidency because her husband or ex-husband Charles Taylor was president By extension, she was the first lady. She became senior senator of Bond County. Now she's the second in command. So that tells you that they've been around for a while. But let's waste no time here really quick to bring on our guests as we get into the conversation today. Remember the topic just before we bring our guests. Can a CDC-led government win the 2023 presidential election? This is the conversation we're going to be having today. We'll also examine the speech of Mr. Cummings today. We'll talk about other national issues as to ensure that we're covering everything. Mr. Sia, what is going on? Why you enjoying the music? Because I saw you in the back making some moves. You want to be president too? Or what's up, my man?
I don't want to be president, Steve. I don't want to be president.
Man, somebody called me and say you want to be president. Why are you changing your mind so quick? We didn't even get to 2023 yet.
I don't want to be president. It's just that I know a lot of people that want to be president. That's all.
Well, welcome to the show, my man. Greet our people really quick, and then we'll get into the conversation here.
Thank you. Steve, it's good to be here. I want to say thanks to those who have taken their time to watch the show. Welcome. And I'm here to share my thoughts on what the conversation is going to be today. Let us do this. I see lots of people. I see Michael Doe Tepperson. I see Siata T. Thompson. I see Rose Rosos. I see Agnes Liberté Cabo. I see Brazilian Mark. I see a lot of people. Maybe I shouldn't have started calling names because some people will get mad.
And that's exactly what I'm going to tell you. Put in a situation
now in the situation I can't handle. But I think they'll understand. Sometimes it's good to get in a situation you can't handle. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Mr. Sia, for being on. I want to say thanks to our listeners and our viewers from across the world, especially those of you who are in Liberia following us or listening to us. Say thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for helping us share the show to those of you who have done so. We want to dive straight into the conversation here with Mr. Anthony Sia. Mr. Sia, first of all, I'd like to ask you, what do you make of the 17th anniversary or celebration of the CDC? What's there to celebrate and what's going on?
CDC has all the reasons to celebrate. I try to be a truth teller. CDC has so much reasons to celebrate. A political party that started 17 years ago today has become the most successful political party only and only when it comes to winning elections. Parties that started 17 years ago, parties that started 20, 25 years ago, some of them, they have no prospect of winning the presidency anytime soon. In fact, some of them have died. They are dormant. But the CDC arguably, is standing. It still has people who are committed to it, even though the writings are on the wall, but the CDC is still around. The CDC captured power. The Liberian People's Party at some point was headed by Dr. Tuba Nantipote. He was a household name. And yet that party could not win the presidency. I'm not sure if any of their members succeeded in winning legislative position as well. There might be one or two, but not to the full knowledge of most of us. It's because it was not as monumental or significant as the CDC, has been. The United People's Party, maybe one or two persons from there, have, won seats at the legislative level. But I mean, how many of us are aware of that? And fast forward, the Liberty Party. The Liberty Party at some point, especially during the Taylor time, became a major opposition party because of Charles Walker's Brunskin. And yet, Brunskin came very short. So the list goes on and on. So if you look at all of that, the CDC has everything to celebrate. That it came and it was mostly commoners who pulled it together, and they were able to mobilize a majority of the common people in Liberia. They didn't have to spend a dime. People were printing their own t-shirts. People were walking all by themselves. I remember some people walking from Negro Town all the way to SKD, just to be part of CDC event, and it didn't matter to them. They were excited doing that. That has changed today, but given the history of the CDC, my brother, it's a fact that they have everything to celebrate, but I'm not sure how they are feeling right now. If you look at the history, they have everything to celebrate because of how far they've come. But I know they are disappointed, especially majority of them who are not enjoying the government, and they are not happy. Even those who are enjoying, they have the sense that their fellow members, brothers and sisters who were with them, in the struggle, they are not happy with them. Some of them have fallen. We heard about Lester Tennant, Dr. Lester Tennant, right? He couldn't have nailed it. And he said, look, he was at a party headquarters up to 12, and the place was like a ghost town. He said there was the CDC. You didn't have to send buses for them. Just upon a mere announcement, they would gather in mass. But this time, they're sending buses, they're begging them, they're enticing them with money to come, and yet they are dragging their feet. And he said, look, he said one of those, young parties told him that, look, Brabi, that scan there, we're not going to buy it this time, trying to quote him here. So while it is true that historically there's something for them to celebrate, because the essence of a political party is to win presidential power, to win legislative power. Then the mean work starts, which is governance. There where the CDC is a failure, to the highest order. So I maintain that, yeah, they have everything to celebrate if you look at the fact that they have come this far to winning the presidency, winning seats, controlling government. But they should be disappointed that they have let the very people who they have inspired down in a very big way.
I'd have to agree with you that the CDC managed to win the 2017 presidential elections. Whether there were discrepancies, whether there were questions about the winning, or so forth, the fact remains that they are the governing body currently, and they have a lot going on. But also, just before we move further into the CDC, to dive into the CDC, we watched a couple of the oppositions, namely one of the senators, Senior Taylor from the ANC, switched over to the CDC this past weekend during the celebration, which caused for more celebration as well. One would say, the CDC, it's gaining momentum because senators are switching, other people from the opposition are switching over to them. What do you say about that move of Senior Taylor from the opposition, but at large, the ANC? Should the ANC be worried? Should they be concerned?
Look, I'm not sure the ANC can control individual members personal decisions that they are making for their own political survival. The ANC cannot control that. But one will have to question, what? ANC that claims to be the fastest growing political party?
Right.
ANC that claims to have a better message, that claims to have a better leader that is for change, and the guy who they put forth as their candidate is leaving the ANC. When we hear about all these news of corruption and bad governance, bad economy, hardship in the country, and all of this we can also blame it on the CDC because the CDC is in charge. And a Taylor is leaving the ANC that is claiming to be the alternative and going to the CDC. What is he seeing that we are not seeing, that the ANC is not seeing? So one will have to ask why. Why is he saying that? What is the ANC doing wrong? What has he seen in that county that he is now a lawmaker that the ANC is not seeing? Because this guy, to be a lawmaker, has to be elected by the county he hails from. So I would think he might want to contest again, and he will be depending on the people from that county to vote for him. So apparently he might have done his homework and have come to realize that maybe the people in the county are seeing the CDC as a better option than the ANC. That could be the reason he's making that decision. But that is something we have to dig deeper to know whether or not he's seeing things rightly. But Steve, clearly, these political actors, this is how they only show that they are in all this because of what they get. The reason he's making a move, it is not about Liberia. No, it is not about Liberia. If it is about Liberia, why the CDC? Given what we know now, he's making a move because he feels and thinks that with the CDC maybe carry on little projects here and there, and more voters are seeing the CDC a little more visible compared to the opposition, he is somehow inclined now to think that the voters, because they see little projects here and there from the CDC, would rather vote for a CDC candidate other than an opposition candidate because the opposition has been seen as a group of disorganized people. I believe that might be what he's betting on, for which he made that move. You cannot wholly and solely hold the ANC responsible. But again, is the ANC now attractive for him? Is his thinking different from the ANC? I mean, it's hard to pinpoint. It's hard to blame the ANC. But if I were in the ANC, I would be doing a little more soul searching. Why this guy will leave this party to a CDC of all parties that we know is so corrupt that almost every week there's breaking news on corruption, that is so inept that we see mismanagement nearly every day. Steve, I'm doing a list of all of the reports of corruption. Campaign is coming, and I'm revisiting my files. You know, and Steve, what I've gathered so far to have, these numbers of reported corruption cases of the CDC and trying to compare them to the corruption cases that were reported in the Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, it will show you that the CDC, there are more reports. Even if you look at the audits, CDC now is surpassing the Unity Party of all people in terms of corruption cases, and that scares me.
Well, for the record's sake, we also have to point out to the public that Senior Taylor, it's a former sedition or supported the CDC party at some point in his career. But one could also suppose or say that he might be eyeing some kind of leadership role in the Senate. And maybe that this is part of the deal. This is part of the bigger picture and so forth, considering the CDC has control of both houses. And so they could push him for some kind of, they could push him for some kind of position in the Senate at a bigger level, or he could lead, one of these groups in the Senate or so forth. Maybe that could be the intent. But again, these are all speculations, and these are all things that are the deals. We probably wouldn't know the in total of this deal or what prompted him to move to the CDC. But either ways, it's up to the ANC, it's up to the general public to judge that is not in our place. But I'd like to move a little further on a bigger picture here, Mr. CA. What do you make of the CDC chances come 2023 to win the presidential election?
Steve, the CDC is vulnerable. The CDC is beatable. The CDC can be defeated. The CDC defeat, though, will be contingent on the work the opposition is going to do. I have some ideas how the opposition can do it. With or without collaboration, it is doable. One of the tools opposition can use that can render the governing party much more vulnerable to the point that it can get defeated easily is protest. What you and myself doing today, it will not send a much forceful message to the voters in Liberia. The message that will be much more forceful to majority of the ordinary voters that protest. Let me give you a trend. When the CDC started, they started dancing, right?
Mm-hmm.
In no time, the news of 16 billion. The protest started. Bring back our money campaign. That protest had alarmed the voters, seditious alike, that what? This is what our men are doing? 16 billion? Now, if at the time the news of that billions, was just intellectualized, like we just sit down, we discuss, it would not have had or would not have reached the ordinary voters to an alarming level. But what happened was there was a protest. They saw people in the streets. And at that time, it was raining, if you remember. People were in the rain protesting. What protest does is awaken people's consciousness. Liberians are people that like to see things with their eyes. They say, what is going on here? So when something is happening, the Liberian man or woman will go and stand by. What is that? It sends a much forceful message. And as they walk away, they go with that. It stays with them. It must have been serious for people to gather. If it is not serious, then people will just go about their normal businesses. So then the June 7 protest came. And then there was the other protest, the date, they changed it. And so I'm trying to tell you, then the protest of war crime court. So there have been a lot of protests. So the people, the citizens, the voters were getting alarmed. What is going on? I mean, why are people coming in the streets? The protests from the nurses, all right, from JFK and everywhere. Teachers laying down their chalks. That's another form of protest. Protest is not only when people gather in the street. There's so many ways people can protest. So there was a sustained, protest. There was a series of protests. The one from the University of Liberia. The protest had communicated the pains of the people, the frustration of the people. And so, Steve, the people came to the realization that the CDC was not what they voted for. So when the by-election started coming, Steve, the CDC was losing ground to the point that the CDC was able to lose Montserrado County, its strongest hold that it held over 15 years in electoral politics in Liberia. It was not because they had terrible missteps and corruption. It was more so those missteps, those corruption stories were amplified and enforced by a series of protests that the ordinary man understands. So I'm saying this to say, this opposition needs to be calculated. Steve, you follow all the communications from the international community. When the international community is not diplomatic in its communication, in its speeches, in what it says, if the international community is not diplomatic, it tells you that it has given up, that the language of diplomacy does not apply to this government. Because when they are diplomatic, the government does not even understand it. The government dismisses it. And so the diplomatic community has been so blunt. They've been speaking as though you and myself speaking to the pains and suffering of the Liberian people. What I'm saying here is that this is the diplomatic community telling the opposition, you can't sit on your hands. We, the diplomats, are not even diplomatic about our languages. And you, the one who should not be diplomatic, trying to remain diplomatic, it is time for you to take action. practical action, sustained action. So we may commend those who are regular in speaking out. The Cummings, I can report, has been very regular in speaking out. He had a press conference the other day. Today there was another one. I enjoyed the speech. I read it. I think it's one of the best speeches he's given. It connected to most of the issues. I can pinpoint here and there. I wanted them to have done more on the budget, but they included something. He has been speaking. But Steve, if you ask most Liberians today in Liberia who they would rather vote for, I believe fewer would say Cummings in the opposition community now. A little more might say Bouaka, even though Bouaka has spoken less. So Cummings speaking is not enough, even though it should be continued, because the Bible says, hearing and hearing, faith coming by hearing and hearing the words of God. So let him keep preaching his real change message. I will have to look in that real change message and put some meat on the bones. But what I'm saying is, it cannot just be the talk. The talk must be backed with sustained action. And when I'm saying action, I'm talking protest here. They have to define what protest is. They have to come up with different kinds of protest. They have to engineer it. Cummings has money. He should now be battled by someone. Oh, Cummings is spending the money. He's sponsoring protests. Look, this is what the CDC did. With no money, they were at the embassy. They were condemned. People saw them as stupid people. They were on hunger strike. When they were doing that, the ordinary people pitied them. Those who could not speak, they were speaking for them. They did it in some instances in violent way. They had cassettes. They had, they went after Ellen Johnson Sirleaf viciously. Ellen pursued them. Many of them got hurt. But then the people got on their side to the point that Ellen herself, at the end of the day, decided to support a CDC because she felt that CDC had embarrassed us too much, and she felt that maybe without CDC, Liberia would not have peace. So there's a way, if you conduct a sustained effort, even those who may be against you now, tomorrow, because this consistent speaking, I'm not sure how it's getting Cummings, more people on his side. People are still on a wait and see. So he needs to try something a little more unorthodox here to reinforce his message of change. Cummings will become a little more radical and pragmatic. And if he can do it, there are people that can do it. He can find the people and then provide the leadership in the back end to make it happen. No diplomacy now. Campaign time is nearby.
Okay, well, as Ansonisi is making some free recommendations here, as well as analyzing the issue. Mr. Kane just updated us on his status. Mr. Kane, welcome to the show. I know you had a long weekend. You've been chilling. I saw some of the fun suits and the pictures, but we'll talk beyond close. Oh, you're still in Dallas. I thought you were already back here or on your way back.
That's it. That's it. Who you're talking about?
Yes, definitely.
So when we went to, we went to Arizona.
Yeah,
I was there. The man started telling the people that Ansonisi were here. The men were drinking atta, eating meat. He put a meat in your pocket. He put some atta in your pocket. Even took it to the airport. The TSA have to take it from him.
The man stays on you.
The man. What? How did the man get to me like that?
Yeah, the man. The man put you in situation you can't handle, but you handle the situation.
Can't handle. So people, they allow this somebody that you had dropped me. Roasted me in your pocket and went to the airport.
But real quick, Ansoni, I want to agree with some of the points that you've made, but I want to also connect some numbers here or some data here for us to move into this conversation, because this conversation has to be held with some data to provide context and clarity as to the CDC's path. So I will have to agree with you from a strategic standpoint. The CDC did all these protests and they appealed to the consciences of the people. The CDC also went ahead and ensured that they identified with the plight of the people. Again, they pressured the government. They kept Ellen's feet to fire, whether they were getting a cut behind closed doors and making up some of these protests or whatever it is. The truth of the matter is the CDC fought for this. They wanted this. They showed that they wanted it through their actions and inactions. They were moving on. They were taking on the government at every level. They used every opportunity. Now, they might not have been the diplomatic ones to go and get speeches here and there, but their actions, showed to the Liberian people that they wanted this thing, and they were in line with the people, and they were standing up for the people. As evidenced by that, they even advocated for one economic crime squad. They carry caskets. They have women underclothes moving around, in the streets and so forth. So I'd have to agree with you. But I wanted to also take this thing from a mathematical standpoint. And now that we've talked about maybe the sympathy votes, the empathy, and so forth, I want to get to the math of this. In the first round, the 2017 elections, the CDC earned 38.4% vote. This was one of the biggest votes they've earned from 2005 in the first round or whatever now. This is one of the biggest numbers. 2011 election as well. But they earned, which put them automatically in the second round. They put the CDC in the second round. In the second round, which was the round-off, they beat the Unity Party 61.5% of the vote. They knocked them off. So when you do the math there were about 23.1% of the vote that CDC got in the second round, which today made them to be the ruling party. Yeah, here is my question to you, Mr. Sid. Here's my question to you. Do you think the CDC will be able to pull? Some people will say that was a sympathy vote, that 21 or that 23.1% vote. Some people will say it was a sympathy vote. Do you think, amidst everything that's going on in the CDC right now, with seditians feeling disenchanted, with just government officials in key roles enjoying, do you think the CDC would be able to gain this 21.3 vote amidst everything that's going on? Or would be able to gain, to be able to gain the 38? Let's start with the 38% first, 38.4%. Let's start with that, to catapult them into the second round before we get to that sympathy vote of 23.1 that made it evidently to win the elections. What do you say?
Steve, that is a very good question. The variables or the numbers will move around. Right now, if you look at the past election results, the turnout of nearly the past elections we've had is around 38%. Now, if you subtract 38% from 100%, Steve, you're talking about almost 60%. All right, or 60, that would be 62%. If my math is good, because I'm terrible with math. So that is 62% of registered voters or eligible voters in Liberia who stay away from voting. There are many reasons why. They don't trust the system. They don't trust the voters. They don't trust the politician. They don't think their votes will matter. They don't see anybody who is communicating their pains enough. And the message of change, which is the driver of votes in anybody's favor, is not forceful. There's no anger in that message of change. That is why the CDC did. The CDC brought the anger, the pains of the people to their messaging. They displayed that through violence. And they were in the trenches. That's what the CDC did. So going back to your question, Steve, that the CDC will be able to maintain that additional 20 plus percentage point that they got that put them at the top to win around 61%. The CDC is not in a position it was in the previous election to pick up that percentage. The reason is simple. Number one, the CDC was the party of the change message.
All right.
The Unity Party was the corrupt party. And at that time, the Liberian people wanted change. And the fact that the unanimous agreement at the time was change, and change did not mean Unity Party, obviously, the variable had moved in the CDC favor. It was not because the CDC was the best, but it was because the CDC some way became a representation of what change meant at the time. And the fact that majority of the people want to change, they went with the CDC even though they didn't really know what our CDC were capable of delivering this change. What the CDC did was the CDC were telling the people, we are the change that you've been waiting for. So I am saying this to say the CDC is not a change today. Why is the CDC not a change? The same corruption we saw in the Unity Party administration, that is why the CDC is carrying on today.
So,
let us not use the word corruption. The stealing we saw in the Unity Party, the CDC is stealing today. So the stealing can mean change. Go ahead.
So, Mr. CF, just before you continue your thought, please, I don't want to forget about this question.
Yeah, do that.
So does that mean more likely so the CDC might not even go to the second round? Does that put them in that position? Because people automatically think the CDC would automatically go to the second round. But with everything you just said, with all of the things that you just said, they're the total opposite. And even, I would say, maybe worse than what they projected to have been. Does that put the CDC in a place wherein they might more likely so not even be able to see the second round? Because this is a huge challenge. You must be able to pass that threshold to get to the second round. What do you say?
The CDC stand a much better chance of making it to the second round. My understanding of your question was the additional 20 percentage point they pick up in the runoff to defeat Bwaka. I thought that's what you were asking for. And I'm saying to you,
I want to focus on the first round before we get into the second round. Because you can't skip the first round and get into the second round. So I'm asking you, based on what you just said, does it mean that it is possible that the CDC might not make the second round? Because in Liberia or in Africa, it is said that maybe the incumbent, it's hard to defeat the incumbent. But this incumbent is doing so poorly. They're doing worse than the Unity Party or so forth. Even worse with the let's not take away the limited resources they have now as opposed to the Unity Party, but they're doing worse and they're exacerbating the situation on a daily basis. Doesn't mean that they might not make the second round before we get to the second round.
As things stands right now, I would think the CDC will make it to the second round.
Okay.
But I will also say, if the individual political parties do better messaging, do a little more of protest, and if they communicate with each other that, look, where collaboration is not possible, let's fight stronger individually. You understand? Then it will put that possibility in play for CDC to not make it to the second round. But I will maintain very strongly that the CDC is better positioned to make it to the second round the way things stand right now. And yes, the reason. The other parties are not visible in the counties. They are not visible. Even the ANC that claims that it has structures in the counties, those structures are just on paper. Those structures are not active. Those structures are not carrying on visible activities in the party, in the counties. I speak to people in Grand Cru. Somebody came from Riverside the other day who has been back and forth in Riverside. This person is in Mr. Cummings' corner. He supports Mr. Cummings, but he was shocked that the ANC and Mr. Cummings does not have, better name recognition in the county. He was shocked that that is happening in Riverside. And mind you, Riverside is not too far from Monserrate County. Now come to think about Grand Cru, and many other counties. So the CDC, yes, that possibility of the CDC not making it to the second round can come into play if, say, the Unity Party, if the Unity Party of today were the Unity Party of Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, and if the ANC were to grow, broaden its stance as Cummings has promised, and if they put more resources in the counties, then it will put that possibility in play. But as things stands right now, I understand that the CDC is even paving road in Lofa County, something that the Unity Party did not do. Now, forgive me for this, Yakba, who has been in Lofa County and say has not seen a paved road in Lofa County. To see CDC doing that, And Yakpawuro is not hearing about this news of corruption. Yakpawuro does not understand when you say Mage be a Mussolini for his mother. Yakpawuro does not understand that Mage is dishing out money in the name of scholarship. He does not understand it. In fact, when Yakpawuro becomes a beneficiary, Yakpawuro feels that Mage is a real pro-poor agent because he is poor and his school fee is being paid. Even though that his government money that is being used, his government money has never been used in that way. So for him, Mage is a good guy. Now, how do you thwart that as an opposition person? The way you thwart that is with a little, maybe you carry on an agricultural project. Maybe you carry on something like youth rehabilitation program, or you start a computer training school, even if it is small, and you are in that county and you are searching for any opportunity. Maybe nurses are not paid, or there's a hospital that is in bad shape in that county, and your party call for a major protest demanding that the government renovate that hospital. That will put the people in your corner. Then you tell them, look,
Mr. C, let me hold you. Mr. C, let me. I hate to do this, but let me hold you there, man. You can't be
always interrupting.
You can't be coming public and be spewing these kind of strategic moves when you know whether the ANC or the Unity Party have not contracted you to do this kind of thing. Please don't get a kind of free. Look, let me tell you something.
I got more in my bank, and I do it for
okay. When you spending all of that, then you make it, you make it low funny, and you make it low that you're not expensive, brother. Keep it. If the people see what they will look for you for it. Let me be honest with you. I've always said it. Politics not cheap. To be president, they're not cheap thing. And you understand? Mm-hmm. There are people who supported George. We are giving idea other thing today. He became president. He kicked them aside. My brother, let's not make a mistake that you made with George. They were the ANC or the Unity Party, the LPU, the ALPU, the opposition. If they want these strategies and this thing, let them come and pay for it. That's my only advice I got for you. So let go our show, lead this strategy there. Let the put them can look for you, brother. Let we move. Go ahead, please. No free strategy. If you do free strategy on a player, then we'll have to charge you.
Well, Steve,
will charge you. We'll charge you.
Yeah, I am no expert on these things. What I do is I sit down and I think, how can the opposition win? How can the CDC win? How can the CDC be defeated? You understand? And as I think, I jot down these thoughts that come to my mind. They are not scientific, but they make sense. And when they are applied effectively, those thoughts, turn things in anybody's favor. And so, I mean, your advice is that I should not share them. I think I should share them.
Okay.
I think I should share them because that's the only way the conversation will be enriching, or else the conversation will be boring. And the people that you're talking about will come to me. If they think I make sense, maybe they will come to me. And if they come to me, I will just tell them. I'm a media person. I am a media person. The media role is not only to report, but the media role is to also provide analysis, to also say, here are the possibilities, that can be explored. You can come to us for consultation. We'll provide you consultation. Now, if you reach out to us for consultation, we can provide you consultation. And if you want to appreciate our consultation, it's legal for us to do so. But we want to provide consciousness for the society, for the electorates, so that we can have a kind of democracy that is participatory, where people are not spectators, where the political actors will fight with ideas, will fight with strategy, and not just the usual noise and insults. But because they are out of ideas for which they resort to insults. Insult will not call it. So that's how I see it, Steve.
Go ahead, and you're free. Go ahead. That will charge you after for spewing strategies on SKTV.
Yeah. I think you guys need to charge me for dropping too much knowledge that powerful, right?
Exactly. Yeah, but what do you think though? So let's talk about the second round. Now that you've talked about the possibility for them, some are saying the incumbency factor, the resources, and so forth, given the CDC would get to the second round. But then let's talk about the second round. Does it depend who the CDC meets in the second round to be able to defeat them as to the to becoming, to retaining the presidency, or it's going to be depend on what the CDC has done as a party or as a government to take them up? There are a lot of things at play here. Do you think they will get that sympathy vote of 23%, which is a big number? Do you think they will get that sympathy vote?
So the key to your question there is in the second round,
Yes.
for the CDC to be defeated,
Yes.
will it be contingent on who goes against the CDC in the second round,
Yes.
or will it not matter?
Exactly.
That is your question.
That's my question.
To that, I would say it may not necessarily matter, but it will also be better who goes against the CDC in the second round. So let me address why I said it may not necessarily matter. Now, let me use Bwaka. Let's say Bwaka is fortunate to go against the CDC. Who is Joseph Bwaka? He is not a transformational leader. Age is a factor for him. I believe Liberia needs a much more energetic leader. What Liberia needs most is somebody who has foresight, insight, farsighted. Somebody who is a critical thinker. Bwaka is not a critical thinker. Some people have ordained him with wisdom. I don't get to see that wisdom. What I'm saying is Bwaka does not know his surrounding. And Bwaka is from the Unity Party, so the narrative factor comes in. So it will be two corrupt parties in the second round. So the CDC now will say, well, look at Unity Party want to come back. Now the Unity Party will say, well, what are now you think we are corrupt? Look at the CDC and look at us. I think we are better because during our time, I think you could afford a couple of reps for $25. At least we're bidding roles. CDC will say, well, we are bidding roles. So the conversation now, then it will be that the seditions will stay with CDC because they don't like Unity Party.
So Mr. Sie, since you are making this statement, since you are making this argument now, and you are looking at the Unity Party, specifically Joseph Yuma Bwaka, I want to throw in something.
Please do.
I want to throw in something for the public to think about, for you to think about as well, and respond to this. Everything the CDC has done, they've repeated it, and they will repeat it. That has been their game plan. For example, when they first came to power, they hit the courts, the Supreme Court, because they understood that the reliances for certain things would have to be at the Supreme Court level, which is in our Constitution, the arbiter or the final arbiter of everything, the law of the land, and so forth. So that when they remove Cabinet Jane, the CDC did something that most Liberians did not pay attention to. But this thing will be repeated if we're not careful. In context, keeping in context Joseph Yuma Bwaka and the Unity Party, the CDC denied Bernie Samoka his seat after the Liberian people voted for him. Would also there be a possibility, now this is my question, would also there be a possibility that the CDC comes up with an audit of Joseph Yuma Bwaka before the 2017 election, before the 2023 election, or within the 2023 election, indicting Joseph Yuma Bwaka, which evidently will prevent him, even if he goes to the second round, for winning the election? What do you say about that possibility? Steve,
that's the narrative factor I'm talking about. I don't want to dwell too much on the court aspect of it. It may be significant. That will be the CDC last option, that the election goes to court. And the fact that the CDC controls the court, the CDC will do everything for a ruling to be in its favor. But let us be reminded, this is a CDC that even contemplated that it could teach Darius Dillon. Why it didn't do it? Because the numbers were overwhelmingly on the side of Dillon. the elections or the election was managed, specifically the Dillon election, it was managed, meaning that they have pool watchers. The votes were being tallied at the various precinct centers. The results were posted on the wall. People were documenting them. Understand? So the CDC could not change any numbers because the CDC were being exposed. So when it comes to the elections, when Bwaka is to go against Weah we have a much better chance because of the narrative factor. Mr. Bwaka comes from a corrupt party. Mr. Bwaka is older. Mr. Bwaka does not have money. The CDC has money, even though money will not win the election, but the money will get you your force soldiers in the field, your election representatives in the field so that they can tally the results, so that they can be at every polling place. Unity Party will not be able to source the funding. The Bwaka Unity Party will not be able to source the funding to deploy, all right, their representative at every polling place for them to document and report. And because the Unity Party of Joseph Bwaka is not effective. You know, it's poorly managed, it's weak, it's dogma. It has no finances. So that is a serious advantage, disadvantage that it has, that we CDC has over them when it comes to money. Now, if you were to throw Cummings in the maze, what you're going to have is that, okay, this guy represents change. He has not been part of government. There's no corruption record. You spoke earlier about could the CDC go to do an audit that may implicate Mr. Bwaka, and that they will put it out there, and Mr. Bwaka and the Unity Party now will have to come and be clarifying. And while they try to do that, they will not be preaching their message. So that will be the baggage that will come with the Unity Party. The CDC can do that. The CDC can release all the corruption, the audit reports that happened during the Unity Party. They will be able to recount the narrative they used against the Unity Party at the time. They will flood the airway because they have the money to do so. They control the media to a greater extent because they have the money to buy airtime, to send money to the media institutions. And this is something the opposition have to take into consideration. You cannot dismiss the media. Doing business with the media, paying for your messages, paying for your campaign, paying for your sorrow. And this is what I have. This is where I have a problem with ANC. ANC should be robust. I don't see assigned agents. Now, let me not use the word, but surrogates assigned to any major media network. Why are they not doing that? I want to see ANC having somebody who is a panelist on SKTV. Let the person be on payroll if possible, or maybe be some form of compensation, just as Mamba Yoba is getting money. What is the damn thing he's doing anyway? What is the other young picking, the assistant to Cummings I interviewed recently? I understand he's getting paid. I understand my man Ava is getting paid. I understand Moriah is getting paid. Assign these people to media institutions. Let them propagate, man. What is this thing that, hey, you have the money, spend the money. Assign people. Let them get the job done. These people are second guessing. Should we do it? Why would people think? What a minute. You think CDC is thinking about why people are going to think? How many ordinary people will understand that, the CDC is using the government money? Not many people understand that. The voters, they don't understand that. You, the opposition folks, will make them to understand. And the way you do this is to have a sustained and continuing presence as panelists on these media platforms. You have to be on the radio. You have to be in the counties to do so. Well, maybe the thing, it is not time yet, but let me tell you something. The sooner you start, the better you dominate the landscape. The sooner you start, the better you'll be able to gain control of the narrative. The narrative should be based on the realities, the suffering of the people. It will not be done during the campaign time only. You have to start it now.
Mr. Sia, that's a good point. I have to agree with you because very soon they will be terming you as ANC man. So congratulations to your new title, to your name that will be added. But I've always said this also. I've recommended opening to the ANC. Listen, the end of the day, you want to win the elections. If you have the resources, like you said, you must start to invest. I'll say this, politics is not cheap. Politics is not cheap. If we were taking offers and I wouldn't call names. If we were taking offers, if SKTV were to take offer for anyone, the offers that have been made, Canada will sing a different song. We're singing Sialene song for a certain group of people. But this is to come to your point. Whoever has the resources, especially for the opposition camp, must start to invest. They must start to make the presence felt. You can't do this. Is not a Russian roulette. You can't play games with this. You are either in 100% and fully and strategically to move this thing, or you sit at the back and you watch these guys play this thing. Do you know how many times the CDC have reached out to different people? Do you know the work the CDC is doing? The CDC told you. The CDC told you that they would weaponize the media. It was not a joke. And these guys are doing it. It's just that there are a certain group of people that have refused to work with them because of the level of integrity. Who's going to come and say President George Weah is doing better? Only people who live in utopia will do that. People who are not in touch with reality. The truth of the matter is he is not doing better. Every day there is a corruption scandal. Just today, the Minister of Agriculture, who was overwhelmingly voted in the Senate as
Confirmed.
Yes, confirmed. I mean, almost 100% confirmation, 99%. Guess what? There's a huge stuff of corruption on her desk. The president, they're doing nothing about it. But you expect to come to the media and say, we'll give you 500,000 or 1 million. You say you can talk for us. To what? To what? To discuss what? To say, oh, it's red, but we tell the person it's blue. What sense does that make? So to your point, I agree with you. Whether it is the ANC or the UP or other parties that want to defeat President George Weah, let me say this point blank and period. This conversation will come down to the media. President Donald Trump was defeated because of the media in the United States. The media will determine this election. That's what it will come down to. Y'all keep playing games around. Y'all keep playing yourself. We inside, we watch it. Any story that drop on, we'll talk about it. Go ahead, man.
Steve. I'm glad you brought that the media defeated Trump. Period.
Yeah, no clue.
Protests also defeated Trump. Period. And that is why I'm communicating with these people and they are playing phone. Protests and the media, they are your vehicles to winning. Market, take it, use it to your advantage. Let me drill on the Trump example. You remember that video that was going around? They say voting out. There's a guy in a warehouse. That video was going around. That video, the last time I checked, it was around, I think it hit, I don't know the exact number, but it was in millions. That video was just going around. And they did a video in a way that they were white, blacks, Indian, all the nationality, the different faces, sinking in that particular video that they should vote Trump out. And the media was hammering Trump. Trump was defeated massively. He sustained a defeat that no one has ever suffered. Obama, prior to the Joe Biden elections, was the US president to have received the highest number of votes. But Joe Biden beat that record because of protest and the media being used effectively against Trump. When Trump got elected, there was protest. People didn't want him to be president. The women were protesting. Protests did not stop. There was protest at the White House almost every day. This is the truth. And the media too, because of their disgust for this man, they were tactical, except for the media institutions that were in his favor. That is how Trump got defeated massively. The media emphasized the need for people to mail in their ballots because it was during COVID time. You can mail in your ballot. Who did that? The opposition party, the Democratic Party, paid for all the media advertisement. The sensitization that, look, you can mail in your ballot today, you can vote before time. Media hammered that daily. And the people got the message. And they voted Trump out. This guy today is a disgraced U.S. president. What are our people doing? People like me, they say I'm enemy of the opposition political party. I have to criticize these guys. These guys are like turtles. They don't move until you put fire on their back. And I'm putting fire on this back because, Lord, to tell you, I'm from Saston. Joshua is from Saston. This guy does not get it. Wea does not get it. He's from Grand Crew. I'm from Grand Crew. Wea does not get it. Wea is about enjoying himself. What kind of man becomes president after being voted by poor people, will go and steal from the poor people just to change the rules of people's homes in Clara Town? Something he did not do when he was earning his million as $4. He didn't see the need to do that. The people he lived with in Gibraltar, when we were making millions, the people were still living in that swamp in Clara Town. Joshua did not change the rules of those zinc shacks they were living in Clara Town until he became president. And he stole the money from the finance ministry to do so. They told us that was his own money. But then front page reporter and the records are still in our hands today that they stole 1 million plus. Seditians were telling us that was Joshua's own money he was using. That was a lie. So we had to steal, not to improve the lives of the people of Claratown, but to just make mockery of their situation. The people stay in the swamp. When it rains, their homes are flooded, except that it's not leaking anymore. That is not how you improve the life of people. And somebody now want me to say that? There could have been a better way for him to change the lives of the people in Claratown. Dry that swamp, rebuild their homes, and tell the Liberian people, I'm using the country money to improve the life of these citizens. That would have been a better way. But to lie and steal and cheat and then not do it better, that's insult to the people of Claratown. I'm not sure the people of Claratown are happy with Joshua today.
I told you earlier on, the rest of the people on this show, that President Joe, we have been around. Let me tell you something. President Joe, we have been around. President Joe is a former rich man who has hung out with crooks, criminals, and very bad actors. So this is now uncommon. Like his territory. He got no shame face. He doesn't care. He's not responsible. So don't even waste your time on expecting anything of response. Imagine a man who got hell of a dry face, go sit down to dedicate a pool, and he calls it an achievement. That's to tell you the mindset. It is to tell you the mindset. Flies from out of country to come and dedicate a pool, And your team said they think your son. Some of these things we don't even want to focus on it because it's so redundant to the point that there is no need to keep talking about it because it would just be a waste of time. Long story short, this man does not care about you. Nope, he doesn't care about you. He doesn't care about the Liberian people. He doesn't care about doing what is right. That is not his thing. Doesn't care about that. As long as he is doing what he's doing, everybody else is good. So, I mean, let's get to Cummings' speech today, and then we would open the line to get feedback and contributions from our listeners and our viewers from around the world. I'm also going to inform you that people are listening and following us from Liberia, and also we're going to be getting call from Liberia as well. We'll connect with someone from Liberia to get the perspective as well. But we're going to get into this conversation. What do you make of the speech today of Mr. Cummings in terms of the timing, in terms of the precision, and in terms of maybe the messaging? What do you say?
Steve,
as an opposition.
I will, before I get to that, something just came to my mind. I was alerted that by somebody in the president's circle the person said I insult President Weah when I'm on air. That is a lie, and that is a lie. I know I can yell. I know I get emotional. I know I'm so passionate. I know I express my view forcefully with no fear. I respect people, but I feel that, I need to express my disgust and I need to express how I feel. The way that our country is not a laughing matter. A little girl might be selling cold water today when she should be in school. A little boy is in red light today selling Kool-Aid when that child should be in school. And while that child does that, that child future has been taken away. What is McGill doing? What is Joshua doing? They are dancing buka. Their cars are parked. Sometimes when they park their car, the air condition, like Buffer Chambers used to do that. That man is in session, his car is beating. Joshua budget is $5 million. That is way too much money than what they gave to the Memorial Consolidated School System. And this guy is telling lies that I insult President Weah. I've never insulted any political leader. I criticize them with no regret. I will leave it at that. So I'm saying this to say people in the CDC, they are mad with me. I don't have time for you. Do your job. That's what I'm asking you to do. So, Steve, let's get to Mr. Cummings' speech today. I've read and listened to every speech that all the politicians have given since I started following politics, because this is a business I'm in. This speech today by Cummings is his second best speech. Mr. Cummings' speech, from what I was told prior to the speech, was he was going to address mainly the economic issues in the country. So I was looking for a kind of storytelling speech. I did not want to see him regurgitating economics, number economic indicators, because the poor voters don't understand it. I wanted the speech to be to the level of the ordinary people, so that even if they would not understand or they would pick up something, the speech accomplished that today. I also criticized Mr. Cummings that he should repeat that he is a Liberian. He said that today. He said he started from what is it called, Point 4, and went to Fiama. So this is a man trying to tell, I'm one of you. I live in one of the poor communities in Liberia. I'm no alien, but I'm running to be president. And he went on to state the reasons why. He said the stealing in the government is too much. We are rich. It's because of poor management and the stealing. More money going to the big shots and less money going to the ordinary people for whom government is created to serve. But the people are not being served. The big shots are not being served. In other words, the servants are being served, and then the bosses are not being served. The Liberian people are the bosses. We employ these people to do for us, to manage our country, to manage our money. But now they are in power. They feel that the money for them and the money not for the people. Mr. Cummings was able to capture that. And he brought in the issue of the road fund, how that money is being mismanaged. He talked about the issue of the census. He talked about the constitutionality of the census. It is a constitutional mandate and requirement. The CDC continuous failure in an example of how inept and incompetent this government is. One of the reasons the CDC has not been able to conduct the census is because of corruption. The boss, according to a sedition, who happened to be one of the leaders at Legis, complained against his own boss that they stole the money.
Yeah, but somebody will say
action.
But somebody will say on the contrary also, we have to talk so and we talk so. Somebody will say on the contrary that, Mr. CA, why are you blaming the CDC? When Unity Party also refused to conduct the same thing that, Mr. Cummings is calling for.
I agree, Steve, but here's the thing, right? This is not a justification for Unity Party. Those who, listen to me, I'm a big critic of the Unity Party, but the census was conducted in 2008. So 10 years later, so it's 2018. Is that not correct?
Yes.
So when did the Unity Party leave power? The Unity Party left power 2018. The election was 2017.
Right.
So the Unity Party needed to have procured all the necessary funding and set the stage for the census to be conducted in 2018. The Unity Party did not do it. I'm not going to justify for them. They should have done it, but they can tell you that, hey, we have issues. We had Ebola and this and all that. So the time frame, because what the point you're making is when you know that the census is 10 years away, maybe 5 years to the time you need to start planning and raising the resources and conducting the training so that when that year comes, everything's in motion for us to be implemented. You are right about that. You understand? But the Unity Party did not do that. So arguably, we can say, well, at least for the Unity Party, let's say they have 2 years to have planned and conducted the census. It did not do it because it was about to leave power. So it left it with the CDC, government of continuity. CDC has been in power now for 5 years. So I will put the blame squarely on the CDC that have 5 years to do this and continue to keep the can down the road.
Yeah, but the CDC could also claim, Mr. CA, let's balance this argument. The CDC could also claim, I'm not saying what the CDC is doing is right, 2 wrongs don't make it right. But I'm also saying the CDC could also claim that COVID has prevented them from carrying on this census. What do you say to that?
Steve, we all know the COVID did not have any significant impact in Liberia. That is the fact. I can even argue this COVID helped Liberia to a greater extent. You want to know how? Look at the $75 for entry and exit out of Liberia. Millions were collected. Those millions cannot be accounted for today. What did they do with the money? Now, mind you, also, the international community contributed over $25 million to the Liberian government for COVID. You remember when they talk about the stimulus package?
Yes.
They were bringing rice.
Yes.
They were bringing rice, beans, or they were going to provide free water, free electricity for our people. Did they provide any of these things, Steve? Some people in Monrovia did not receive rice. They took some of the money, $10 million, and gave it to WFP. Just for WFP to what? Put some documentation together to conduct the planning. They gave WFP $10 million. Have you forgotten that? So this is a CDC that beat the flogged Liberian people. I remember a sister in Nicrutan who was flogged by police officers because they wanted her to go indoor. Why was she outdoor? The CDC was saying, we'll give you food, so stay inside. And yet would not give the food. They stole the rice. They stole the money. The stimulus package was stolen by the CDC government. And the Liberian people are going to vote this government? With all these kind of things that they've done? So, Steve, I can make that argument. The CDC does not have much of a valuable or reasonable excuse for not conducting the census. We see them stealing the money. How many times do you have to postpone a constitutionally mandated responsibility of your government?
Okay.
When the international community have contributed funds, and yet you can't get the job done, and you're not prosecuting or holding those accountable who stole the money, which is one of the reasons why the census is not being conducted in the first place.
And to your point, the 2017 elections, the reason why the second round was pushed up until I think December 25th or December 25th or December 26th. Mm-hmm. And Natana McGill, I'll get that video. I know I got it somewhere saved up. I'll get that video and play it. Natana McGill threatened the country that, and this was one of the first time Natana McGill used the word shenanigans. That if they did not do the elections, if the opposition played any kind of shenanigans, the country was going to do this was going to happen, that was going to happen. Natana McGill said those words. It's so unfortunate I can't go through, these videos here to find it right now because of time. But I would have the opportunity to get it downloaded and play it here so that we can hear that. So he threatened the country. Now, one of the reasons that brought about taking away Kabina Janet from this court was because he gave a dissenting opinion at that time. Remember, it was all about the census. peace be to his ashes, when Charles Walker Brunson and other members of the opposition went ahead and made a case to the Supreme Court, the election should have been redone. It was all about the census. You will also record that Prince Johnson made a video also accusing the government, this current government, accusing the CDC of tampering with the elections, where he was joking and people were laughing about it, but it's a very serious issue, where he said to the public that he and his wife voted somewhere. And when they went to see, there was no vote that came from there. He said that his wife betrayed him, that he betrayed himself. Those are the words of Prince Johnson. It was all because of census. And these guys are playing with the issues of census because they do not want to do the right thing. They want to use this as a conduit to create problems in the country, to create shenanigans. I think this issue of census, it should be done. It must be done. They have the money for it. They have the funding for it. It has to be done if we have a free, transparent election. Mr. Sia, let's go to your comments about this, and then we'll move forward to the lines here really quick.
Look, Steve, and you heard me earlier talk about the opposition need to take advantage of protest. The CDC knows and understands the power of protest. That is why the CDC was very effective in moving on protesters to discourage protest, because protest can render any government unpopular. That's why the CDC used, and then it brought the Unity Party to a point that it was not seen as a good government and party in Liberia. So the government, the opposition now need to add. Now, Mr. Cummings, he's spoken 2 times now, maybe more, but I know of 2, on this census. And he said he's talking to lawyers. How long is he going to be talking to his lawyers? How long? Can there be any court action, at least, to sue this government for violating the Constitution, for repeatedly postponing a constitutionally mandated requirement? Can they do that? Can they even organize a protest? Anyway, I talk too much. I'll leave it. Let's go to the call. You are muted, Steve.
Let's go to the line really quick. We have our first caller here. So quickly, let me make this clear because of time. We allocate more than 1 minute to the first caller. The rest of the callers, you have 1 minute. Go to your point. Please get to the point. Make your points, please. If you have questions or concern, lay the question or concern, and then go and someone will answer the questions or address them. Please, let's get to the first caller. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please?
This is Brazilian Monk calling from Minneapolis.
Brazilian Monk, my man, what's going on? How the Twin City?
Man, it's freaking hot here.
My man, when you call, you complain about cold. What do you want God to do now? What your problem too?
When you used to live in a triple-digit temperature, and that's a heat
wave. Why you on a situation saying in Minnesota there? When you call, you men not go. How your men not go? What do you want God to do now?
I really don't know. Yeah, I've been listening to Anthony, and he's been making a lot of salient points. I think he's been going deep into the issue. But like I said, this election will be one of the clearest elections that the voters will have a choice. I mean, you cannot draw that contrast than any other time in history. You got 3 candidates that will be vying for the top position. You got a Unity Party, you got a George Weah, and you got a Cummings. Like I said, I keep sounding like a broken record. The Liberian people will tell us whether they're ready for progress in that country. Because you got a present incompetence, like Cummings said today. For 5 years, Georgia have proven that there is no insult. They don't have an insult in any situation around, especially economically. They don't know what they are doing. Whether you get Georgia another 6 years, it still won't change the narrative. Maybe the only thing you can do, you just give them license for them to steal more. That's all they can do. And if you want to go back to the past, if you want past failure, because like I fundamentally believe it was the performance of the Unity Party that gave us George Weah. And when you talk about Joseph Parker, you talk about Unity Party. So if you want to go back to the past, then you got Joseph Parker. If you want something totally different and you want to tread a new path moving forward, then you got Cummings. So the whole thing about choice and voter education, like I said, it comes down to the Liberian people. They are the one living it. They are the one on the front line. They are the one going through all the economic difficulties in the country. So it will be the one expected to make that decision. And one thing I agree with Anthony, he said something, It's easy to criticize when you're on the sidelines. When you're opposition, you can make promises. No matter who you're comfortable, you are talking futuristically. But when it comes to governance, the CDC cannot keep making a case. You cannot keep bringing Madam Salidi have been 5 years now.
Right.
When in the opposition, nothing will expect of you. You could talk all you want to talk. Now it comes to governance, it's a whole different thing. So the dynamics for 2023 election, there are so many things. Almost every party within the political sphere, they are fractured. Even Unity Party of Joseph Boga, he doesn't have control of the Unity Party. You got it, Madam Salih, you got the Unity Party. You got it, Joseph Boga, one of the Unity Party. You got new first-time voters coming to the frame. The Prince Johnson will not be the factor of 2016 again. I bet anybody, Liberty Party is not going to get 50% of the vote that Charles Walker Browns can get because our politics is about individuals, it's not about institution. Every time a political leader left that party, they became a shadow of themselves. So we expect that to happen. So the dynamics that will move the needle in 2023, there are so many moving factors. So when you came up with the idea that there is a possibility that CDC might not make it a round number 2, I won't say it's impossible. It might be incredible, but there are possibilities.
Right.
There are possibilities because you even have disenfranchised edition. Whether you elect Georgia or not, you can draw the conclusion that he just not up to the tax. So we know that a fraction of the CDC party will be leaving, like what Lester Tenney said. I mean, like I said, there are so many things to talk about. Maybe the 1 minute will not be enough for me. So maybe I'm gonna come in later or at the end of the show. What's up?
My man, I can send you the link.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, but then I will be in maybe in the 10 minutes. I can join you guys.
Fine. All right, fine.
All right, take care.
So really quick, we have a couple of callers on here. Guys, if you called and we didn't pick up, we'll call you right back, please. Just hang on. Just hang on, please, and please. Just hang on. So please be next to your phone. Okay. I'm calling this caller. We'll call you right back. That's for... Yes, caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from, please?
Yes, hi. This is Jimmy E. calling from Washington, D.C.
Jimmy?
It's a good program.
Jimmy E.
I like it. Yes, Eastman.
Jimmy Eastman, what's up?
Yeah, man. So the topic is good today. But I think what I hear of Cummings' speech, Cummings has to realize he's not talking to a corporate boardroom. He's not talking to, he shouldn't be only talking to economists, people who understand economics, people who understand rule of law and all of that. He needs to be he needs to take a page from the Darius Dillon book. Now, the issues that resonate with the common Liberians are bread and butter issues. Like Anthony was talking about, what happened to the stimulus package? What happened to the money there? What happened to the food distribution that we were supposed to get during the COVID time? You have to speak to issues that the everyday Liberian is facing. And when you are addressing those issues, they will identify with you. But speaking economics and all of that, maybe the people in the diaspora will understand. But that everyday man selling here in our market, as we used to call it, the everyday woman in the marketplace, you have to talk down to those issues in simple, plain talk so they can resonate with them. That's what Dillon did. I was quite surprised that he won. But again, when I'm only hoping that the opposition will galvanize the support so that we can make the people who in authority now do the right thing. You got to do the right thing by people. This is the unpopularity. The thing is, you've gotten the pouvoir, the power.
Right. Well,
now do something with it for the people. That's all we're saying. Do something with it.
Okay, Jimmy. Thank you so much for your point. And I think earlier on I did see a post of you which I want to address quick before you leave. About the fact that I alluded to, Joseph Boaga being indicted or so forth. I will address that in a little bit here. Let me get this caller really quick. Caller, what's your name? Where are you calling from, please?
I'm calling from Minnesota.
What's your name, please?
Terry.
He said Perry?
Terry.
Terry, sorry about that. Yeah, go ahead. Make your point, please.
Yeah, you see, I would be very surprised to see George, we are losing the election in 2023.
Okay.
Because I believe that the election has already been done. The election is done. All right? And in my mind, George, we will not make sure that he wins it.
Yep.
Or fraud also. But I don't think that CDC, I will be very surprised for CDC to lose the election.
Okay.
Because first of all, the opposition have not proven strong. The opposition have proven weak, which of course is a strategy and is working. All right? The minds of the people. So the people now are divided. And George Weah can play on that particular strategy to secure his second term.
Okay.
Whether it by force or not. That is what I believe.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Terry.
Thank you.
Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please? Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please?
Hey, Steve. My name is Japa Maxwell Hooks, and I'm calling from Des Moines, Iowa.
Des Moines, Iowa.
So,
what's your point, Maxwell?
Yes. So let me say thank you to Anthony. He's my man. We had an interview a few times ago, and including you haven't called me yet. But of all the issues, of all the issues Anthony raised, and he's being objective like myself. He doesn't seem to be somebody who plays these tribal sectional cards because Joshua is from Grand Crew or from Southtown. He's hit the issues that are affecting our people. He hit those issues home. But I like to be specific. Steve, I like to be specific. The reason I want to be specific is because I'm a contestant, I'm an aspirant for the elections 2023 in Grand Crew County. I feel sorry for my Grand Crew people. They are so sentimental with this tribal sectional thing that is TC Josh Weah as a god. And so in the midst of the things that are happening and affecting our country, the Grand Crew people don't care. I talked to some of my supporters the other day and say, by this time, Grand Crew is supposed to be booming with other activities, economic activities, livelihood, the improvement of the conditions of our people. I said I'm being specific now. Okay. I'm not talking about the whole country. But can you imagine 50, 60 years ago or 30 years ago since Grand Crew was founded, the road leading through Buchanan to San Luis to Grand Crew is still impossible. And your government, their president, their children, George Weah, the number one man, Abache and Funati Kofa, do not have the innovation and the foresight to do a semi-pavement of the road. By this time, it is rainy season, and no one can go to Grand Crew. A 5 hours drive to Buchanan to Grand Crew. 5 hours that I can drive from here to go to Chicago and come back. It's a 5 hours drive. That road has been there for decades. But they see George Weah as their son. Look, the thing about leadership is not about...
You got 30 seconds. Maxwell, you got 30 seconds, please.
Yes. Sometimes our own children fail us. And George Weah has failed his people miserably. Miserably. And under a communist administration, I don't care what some of our people say because the opposition is disorganized. They would have still been Alexander Cummings in the race. They would have still been Joseph Baka in the race. They would have still been another potential Liberian in the race. Not because they have gone splinter at different loggerheads or into different group means that we should give George Weah another. George Weah, we must work harder. The opposition must work harder to get George Weah out of our leadership of this country. He must be held accountable for the plundering and stealing of our resources. Otherwise, this country will not make any progress. So I'm sorry because of the time. We don't have enough time, but yes, these are things we have to do and we have to work harder.
Sorry, I promise you again to call you, brother. It just based.
Look at you, my man. Look at you.
My man, but call me. You know what? We'll talk after the show. After the show.
All right.
Let me get this other caller, and then I'll get the caller from Liberia. There's a caller from Liberia. I want that caller to be the last for the day, and then we'll get you to let me get this caller quick. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? You have 1 minute.
Okay, Steve, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. What's your name? Where you calling from?
This is Bud.
So when your Iowa people decided to just land and just be calling and what is going on? What did you do today?
so you know what us for?
Go ahead, Chief.
Okay, Steve. I was in Liberia, I would say 2 months ago. When I came back, I told you, I said that our country is damaged. If we, the Liberian,
yes,
believe and we have the hope. And again, it's just where it is like our country will go in a septic tank. Because every 15 persons last or I spoke with them in Liberia, 13 would be for Omer Boakari.
Okay.
2 would be for Josh Weir.
Okay.
They speaking in Liberia and Josh Weir, according to that from the South from Aspen to Josh Weir home is less than 3 hours. And the road is fixed. And you have the president from there, you have the speaker from there. I would say the speaker because deputy speaker and you have the president pro tempore. For now, it's a shame on them. Very shame on them. I will start there for us.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please? It's not easy. The line busy like crazy. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. This is Kwame. I'm calling from the state of Pennsylvania.
Kwame, calling from the state of Pennsylvania. What's your take, please?
Yeah, guess I have no questions, but I want to make some comments. He expressed some very good points. He spoke eloquently. But the problems of Liberia is not only the government, it's the population. Liberian population is not conscientized. They have no knowledge. An example of that is that in the 80s, the whole of Africa was engulfed with war. Rebel leaders in many countries, Sudan, Mozambique, Angola, many parts of Africa, including Southern American countries, they all went into elections and failed. John Garang, Sabibi in Angola, Dr. Neto, Alfonso Neto in Mozambique, and many leaders in South America, Nicaragua, Brazil. But they all failed in Liberia till I was elected. I tell you the mindset of the people. The neighboring country, Sierra Leone, Foden Sancho could not win elections. Or Liberia elected Charles Taylor. That's far under MPFL control area. The Gaza Mental Hospital failed.
You got 30 seconds.
Hospital failed.
You got 30 seconds, Chief.
All of these institutions failed. But yet, Taylor was elected with no vibrant message. And Ellen, the same thing. Josh Weir, the same thing. He said nothing that people actually could hold on to. And the same thing applied to Mr. Boakai. For the past decade, he's been in government. There is no articles in Liberia can tell you where he stands. Paper, electronics, media. No one can tell you all the numerous problems in Liberia where he stands. So that tells you he will not be able to take Liberia to where Liberia needs to go. Because one has to know where you're coming from before you know where you're going.
Thank you.
He does not know that.
Thank you.
But yesterday he has people.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
I appreciate it.
Thank you for taking my time.
Yes, sir. Well, let me get this other caller, and then we'll get 2 calls from Africa and other parts of the world. Let me get this caller. The 2 people who've been calling me on WhatsApp, just hang on. I will call you right back. Right back. You guys will be the last 2, and we'll give you time to make your case. Okay, this other caller here now. We're not on no joking business. And I'm playboy thing here. We're discussing serious national issue. Yes, caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? You can hear me?
I joined your conversation from the Middle East.
Okay.
You asked a question as to whether George Weah can win 2023 presidential election and secure a second term.
Yes.
And the definitive answer here is an absolute no. cannot endure into 2023. All across the country, Liberians are aware of the grand looting of our country by we and its officials who are building palaces over there while our people live on wrinkled belly, and our people that even build a deception that blinded their eyes when we was promising a better Liberia, when we were promising a change of hope that they did not see after we forewarned them of the calamity that was said to befall upon our country. Now they are seeing it all across the country, evident by the 2020s and the terror election across the 15 geographical subdivision. We saw we and the CDC face a massive blow from the opposition, right? Mm-hmm. So while I believe that the incumbency come with enormous power, but yet it has its own drawback. And the greatest or biggest drawback for any incumbent is the years of records of performance. Right. That incumbent has to defend when they're going for re-elections. And I believe that Alexander Benedict Kumi, Joseph Newman Boaka, comparatively the two candidates that are there by the Liberian people in the opposition community, I think Mr. Kumi stands a better to defeat than Ambassador Joseph Newman Boaka. Yeah. So, I mean, it is only Mr. Alexander Cummings that has been able to explain an alternative policy vision to our country, because Boaka regrettably was part of the system for 12 years that promoted injustice, entrenched corruption, and failed to reconcile our country. Evident by Joseph Boaka himself, open confession that is squandered opportunity, evident by the fact that Ellen Johnson Elise, her government was unsuccessful in dealing with the scourge of corruption because of the relationship with different people in the country, which makes it difficult to fight corruption, people connected, evident by the fact that Ellen said her government miserably failed to reconcile our people and promote national cohesion and unity in our country. So Joseph Boaka has been part of this system of government for over 50 years, right? That failed the Liberian people. So like the Liberian people in 2017 saw that the Unity Party government did not deliver the better Liberia with all the international goodwill, 16 billion investment in the country, the public car repository, smell no taste, the more Abraham and the most steering report that talked about the 68 book of concession that were passed under the watchful eyes of Joseph Boaka at the legislature. Somebody said, when you are president, you do not have power. It's a ceremonial position. The president controls everything. No. The vice president presiding over the Senate is an extension of the influence of the executive. And if any vice president who presides over the Senate that does not have influence to influence the senator to do what is best for our country, that means that vice president is not only useless to the executive, but is as well as useless to the country. So Joseph Boaka cannot make a better Liberia. I believe, comparatively, Boaka and Kumi can defeat we did, because in 2017, Boaka wanted the whole nation to forget that he was vice president for 12 years, and he contributed to the decline of our country by letting himself to a park car, a race park car in the garage. So the Liberian people who were not certified, they opted for a guy, a younger candidate who were promising change. And that's how they voted for George Weah. Regrettably, George Weah turned out to be a national disaster or calamity for the Liberian people. But our Liberian people have now lost faith in the quest, the desire, the pursuit of a better Liberia. Like we are defeated, to conclude that we are defeated Braga in 2017. So it's the comparative advantage that Kumi has with the level of engagement he's doing, and he's reaching up to Liberia, all walks of life, every nook and cranny of our country, and selling a vision over the last 5 years, constructively engaging our people. I think it's a good step he needs to double on, and I think Kumi could make a better president. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you. Mr. Sie, I got 2 more calls here, and then we'll call it a day. I beg you, Mr. Sie. I know you have to go, but let me get this call. This is not easy. Not easy work here.
You made me late for my cartoon you appeal.
Yeah, my man. I put you in a situation you can't handle. Yes, caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please?
This is Octavius Gilman. I really apologize. I cannot take the call right now. I'm trying to do this.
Easy. You see the trouble with it? Let me call the other caller, but I'll call the last caller from Liberia and I say, let me call this caller from Minnesota. There is a caller who called from Minnesota. I'm returning your call. If you're watching, please pick up. Because once we go to the call from Liberia, that will be it. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from, please?
Hi, this is Lena. I'm calling from Minnesota.
Yeah, Lena or Linda?
Linda.
Oh, Linda. Calling.
Yeah.
Thank you for calling. I think you're one of the females that called today. So let's hear from you.
Yeah, concerning the sanction, I watched the guy who was assigned, not sanction, but concerning the census. Census, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Concerning the census, there was a guy very young. He was within I think it's the Senate, and he was so mad because he talked about the money, the funds that were being taken away to have such, to have his job done. So he said he was going to quit. I mean, it was so tough when he was with the Senate and they were discussing it. He was so mad, and he said he cannot, work in such a system. Now, number one, let us come to this voting thing. I'm afraid that there will be a corruption because I do remember as for the giant galley. You see, I always say if Liberia should be built, we need to protect our border. There were people who came from Sierra Leone, all these bordering areas that cast their votes. So doing the live broadcast with Ashford, the giant galley, I think it was his first, it was one of his physicians who was telling Gali that we brought people that were not Liberian to even vote. So this entire campaign, people should be vigilant. You wouldn't even believe, you will be surprised because there's a kid that used to give information to some of us. These people may pre-vote ahead of time. I remember during early time in the States here, they took a box from, I think, the USMRC. Before they could set the box down, it was already filled, it fell from the fellow end. So this man will try to corrupt. All these logos they have, you won't even believe. Some of them may be voting by now. So we got to be vigilant. Cummins, JNB, everybody have to be vigilant.
Thank you.
We know what we see in the interior. Some of us last year, we are coming to become president. We heard people midnight in Basel, in Ottawa County, preparing papers. We heard them preparing documents. So I don't know who prepared these voter registration. And what I noticed, I don't know whether that's the same lady who is still the election head or whatever.
Yes.
Because her hearing, when she was being sworn in, she called the American name and said Dana. So from the 40, the 50, most of the Ghanaians that born children, they're all running. We have to be vigilant. The killing is too much.
Thank you.
The hardship is too much. I went to Liberia and shed tears. I cried bitterly. I saw a man dying on the hot cement, no food. Even the person who was driving me around said, Lena, if you get the man food, they will say, you kill him. So we got to be vigilant. And I want you guys to unify. This time around the podcast, America do the same here. CNN carry out no Zoom. And you're trying, let everybody get involved to empower the youth. And one thing I want to say, I'm rather waiting who's going to be the next president. Hopefully, it shouldn't be George Weah.
Thank you.
Let the competition be taught in school.
Thank you.
Let the children understand their right to vote. And the last thing I want to say here, to my brother here, these leaders work for the people. The CDC are the CEO. They employ them to give them better job. You can cost them, but you don't cost their family. You don't abuse their wife. CNN people say that.
We'll leave it there, caller. We're not encouraging people to cost people. We'll leave it there. Sorry.
No, it's true.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. We'll leave it there for today. I beg you, Mama, please. Yeah, we're not endorsing insults. That we don't want to see that on SKTV Day. So let's get this last call from Liberia, and then we'll hear from Mr. CA, and we'll call it a day. We've been gone far above our time. Yes, caller. I know we are supposed to connect with you from Liberia. It's been a little while now. We did not connect with you, but thanks for your patience here. What is your take on the conversation today?
Thank you so kindly, Dr. Steven. Before I move forward, let me say good evening to the folks in the diasporas. Good evening to folks in Liberia, and good evening to people around the world. This is activist McLean Render, and you got it right. I do call from the Republic of Liberia. Quite friendly. The issue under discussion is a serious burning issues in the Republic of Liberia. To discuss it in depth, I will start by saying you can afford to have everything, but you cannot afford to have a full-grown pregnancy of a female. I repeat, you can afford to have everything, but you cannot afford to have a full-grown pregnancy of a female. The living conditions of the people residing in the Republic of Liberia is a serious living condition that a lot of people in the diaspora, if will take a picture and try to rethink of the living condition in Liberia, you won't at no point in time be reflecting the issue of President Weah giving the second term in this country. Shockingly to President Weah on Saturday, vast majority of citizens and citizens who have coped with the idea that in fact this man believed to himself he has the country at heart, quote unquote, on the road to. Today, Saturday was shown in a broad letters that in fact President Weah at no point in time cannot be trusted with Liberian presidency come 2023. Just imagine the CDC, 12 years back, the CDC, 9 years back, the CDC, can be having a celebration of 17-year-old party in existence. Put numerous of government vehicles on the street, begging people to enter those vehicles for $30 United. People were refusing to even enter those vehicles or wear those shirts that were given to people. They have said to me that in fact the CDC have lost a political taste in the Republic of Liberia. To those political pundits who said to us that in fact for different angles, whether from the senatorial or from the representative angle, they bash the forsaken better to the CDC and say that in fact they are supporting the CDC. They have lost their way of consciousness. That's why I wrote, I said, when the political climate get dark, people will lose their sense of direction in navigation going to the wrong direction. Those political parties, the cemetery and others, those political politicians, the cemetery and others who have pledged the loyalty to President Weah, they have not shocked the Liberian people. Just to let you know, and people in the national community know, this issue, this information is unconfirmed. Just right after the the CDC program yesterday. President, we are there for an emergency meeting, that will have a Jamaica resort to discuss the way forward. President, we are still realize that in fact the people of the blue don't know him. Trust me. It is only left with 12 Mange, Javasi, Koshi, like other guys that is pushing President we are to 2023 second thing. In my mind, President we are don't want to vote for President. Let's say President we are is clearly said to us that in fact over television, if government official don't work collectively, he is going to resign. If the president made that statement, it says that in fact the president have lost a taste for the presidency. He knows that in fact no point in time the Liberian people can vote in 2023.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for your take and your input, Mr. Rennie. We will let you go for now, but definitely will reconnect with you so that you can next time appear on the show with us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Sia, what say you? What is your parting comment? What say you in everything you've heard? And what is your parting comment before we take a leave of our people for today?
Steve, majority of those who call agree that the CDC has failed and that the CDC does not deserve another term. So if anything, the narrative is on the side of the collective opposition. That should not be a foregone conclusion. But if there is any opportunity they have been looking for to take advantage of, they have it. The narrative is on their side. They need to keep it on their side. They need to exploit it. They need to take advantage of it. They need to use it to their advantage. And like I said, they should engage the media. They should use the media. They should think about protest. The CDC is vulnerable. If the opposition gets strategic and serious, it is likely that Georgia might not go to the second round. It will be a tough fight, but it is doable. And I think they should put that in their calculation. Because even if they don't achieve that, they will achieve the other, which is actually the ultimate goal. They said it. They want to make president. We are a one-term president. You can't be wanting to make an equivalent of one-term president who is heavily loaded with cash. Believe it or not, carry on little projects in some countries, places people have not seen any of these projects before. Like, for example, the little housing thing they built in other places. Some people will vote the CDC. Some people saw, solar panel street light for the first time in some other counties. For those people who have not seen it, you can't blame them. That's their first time. And, so the opposition has to do everything. If the CDC, Monrovia is out of its hands, the CDC is begging people. The CDC is putting gas in cars and taking it to all the communities and asking people. The CDC is bribing people to attend. If what the young brother just said is true, that we are called an emergency meeting following the program, Lester telling, we can say he spoke, and that one we can say that with certainty. This is a sedition. I understand he's in the government. He the one said that those seditions, the ordinary voters said, Brabi, that scam we're not going to work for us this time. They are hurting. They are hungry. The cobalt price has gone up. They can't afford it. They are chasing the CDC officials to give them something to put in their pocket. They can't get them. They're calling their phones. They're not picking up the calls. They are looking for opportunity to get employment. They are not getting it. Steve, 5 years gone. Some of them, their life situation, their living condition completely deteriorated compared to what it was during the Ellen Justice Lee administration. They don't see any anymore. They see their CDC. They see their Joshua. They see their Comrade Twer. They see their Comrade Jefferson Koji. They see their Comrade Miguel. They see their Chair Momba Molo. They see them all that they are not in their interest anymore. That is what they see. That is the reason why they don't show up to the party headquarters. That is what they are saying. This scheme will not work for us anymore. So if Monrovia, which actually is the representation of what politically usually happens across the country, is this bad for the CDC? Then, Steve, the opposition needs to not get comfortable, but this is something for them to take advantage of and use. Where is vulnerable. The money they have, they've stolen from the people to use. They need to pounce on this message that they have put plenty of money in the budget. Your money, they have taken it in their pockets. They're waiting for campaign time. They want you to suffer now so that when they give the money to you campaign time, you will see them as good people. Take the money, eat it, and reject them. They need to be a message, and they need to be strategic about it. And they should be the ones seen in every place. And they should map the entire country, the counties that have the votes. And they must be in the faces of these people and tell them how bad the government is. If they do that, if not collectively, but individually, they can be where is vulnerable, and they know it. The international community has said it. They need to hammer the CDC. They need to implore protest. The protest should not only be focusing on Monserrado County. They should protest in Nimba. They should organize it. They should not be afraid. It is constitutional. The Constitution is clear that the people have the right to freely assemble, to petition their government. They should do that. Let the CDC be complaining about protest. While one is being organized in Grand Gila, let another one be organized in Grand Bassa County. And it should be about the suffering of the people. If they can sustain that, the CDC will get confused. Momba Money could not have been so point on by saying this president was only hiring on the basis of sex. And this is why the CDC official don't want me to say, even though their party chairman said it. President, we have appointed a lot of women in government because he has some kind of quasi-relationship with them. It is not a basis of competence. And these women, what they do, they are stealing, and he does not have the guts to even hold them accountable. This is a disaster on our hands. To think that because it's a sport park, to think that there's no community role, to think that there's a little solar panel here and there. I mean, so it is all well. I mean, what's about the coastal highway they told you about? Have they done it? The projects that you see, the funding for most of these projects were sourced during the Ellen Johnson administration. That is why they have some projects in the first place. For example, the MPA are building the boats about. They didn't collect the money. They didn't source the funding, and many other projects. The CDC unknown projects they told us about, either like Maggie has a construction company now that is taking contracts. That's why you see most of the roads are poorly constructed. Because he took a contract, the job was not done properly. That's why they then, what's his name? Public Works Minister, may so rest in peace, Mabutu Yimpan said, no, Maggie, I'm not giving you any contract. That's how he got in trouble. He's on the ground today. We can debate the circumstances that led to his death, but there was a serious argument. He was telling them, no, this thing will fall on me. I am the Minister of Public Works. The job had to go on, and then you took the contract. You didn't do the job. You want me to give you another contract? So, my brother, what these men and women, these brothers and sisters are doing, it is all those things are completely contrary to what they stood for, what they preach. So they do not deserve another term. I hope the Liberian people, JT is the one feeling people in Liberia. Cloud, we are turned to a humanitarian on the Liberian people's money. Joshua has become a real estate manager. Joshua is the #1 real estate manager in Liberia. The president got more estates than any other Liberians in the country. My brother, he's putting people in those things. They are paying money to him. This is your president using your own country money and doing these things. Joshua told 145 people to Moscow, all right, to the COP26. Why did he do that? Is that even proper? What all those people have to do over there? 145 people. They pay their per diem, they pay for their hotels, they pay for their air tickets. They went over there to do what? Is that proper? Is that how a proper government operates? Have you forgotten at some point they went to China? They went with over 50 people on that delegation. Have you forgotten when Samuel Twell had to change his ticket in Ghana and spend 25,000 United States dollars just for a single ticket? And they went to China. They told us about a mineral swap, which happened to be a $1 billion mineral swap. It did not happen. It fell flat. They spent all that money. They told that delegation to China for nothing. Liberia is yet to recoup a dime from the waste that they carry on. And so, folks, we all love Josh Weah, the footballer we saw. We all love Josh Weah, the Liberian we saw, who represented the ordinary man suffering, who came from disgrace to grace and to stardom. That Josh Weah story is inspiring. So Liberians felt that Josh Weah will live and exemplify and put into practice that Josh Weah they saw, who came from nowhere to somewhere, and that he will come to government and be intentional about taking the ordinary people from nowhere to somewhere. Little did they know, Brother Weah came to take himself from nothingness to somewhere. He has resuscitated himself financially, and he's dancing. He's not only dancing one-legged, he is not only dancing zombie, he is part of the Buka Challenge. Go on my page. My Buka Challenge is even better than the guy Buka Challenge. This guy likes to be celebrated. He said, I am not celebrated. We don't need a celebrity president. We need a president who believes and knows how to do the work of the presidency. Joshua does not know it. He does not understand it. The only thing he understands about it is to chill. He will chill at the displeasure, at the dissatisfaction, and at the detriment of the Liberian people. And Magay and Twelve will do everything to make sure that the empire is taken care of while the masses suffer. If this message is not strong enough, then I don't know what to say to you. And to the folks in the opposition, you think I'm here to preach for you? No, I'm here to put fire on your back because the stakes are high. Liberia needs to be rescued. In Cummings' words, Liberia deserves better. Liberians deserve better. So he must add it. Tier 1 is also on point. I'm sorry we've forgotten about him. He's an excellent candidate. He makes sense to me just as Cummings does. Bwaka has numbers to his advantage. I wish Bwaka were man enough to have held the CPP together. Joshua will have been history and will have become a matter of time. But hey, it's politics. They can all move the variables and it will happen. Let them make it happen. I don't have interest in becoming a political leader of anything. I want a glorious land of opportunities by God's command under a capable leadership. These men must be men enough. Where are the women, Steve? Where are our sisters? They are the most intelligent people among us. Where are they? Ellen is the best. Okay. That crook, Steve, let me leave you. My cartoon is waiting for me. SKTV is not going to pay the bills. I have to pay.
My man, you already owe us for putting on strategy. So we just kind of balance things and we move. So please don't let all the debt, because the bill that we charge you is bigger than the bill that you want to charge us. Unless you want to put it here, we'll bring it to the public. But then we thank you, Mr. CA. Yeah. I mean, when it comes to George Weah, whatever it is, I have no expectation of President George Weah and the CDC. I know they will not change. They will never change. Even if you were to give them 20 years, they will get worse, and worse. That's it. But I want to leave here for today. Thank you so much, folks. Have a good day. Thanks to Mr. CA for being our guest, for joining us as always. Let's take this home really quick. Who won?
Ladies and gentlemen, I am Sonny, that dear boy. I'm glad introduce to you your president.
Babu want to become president.
Now, not true.